Have you ever wanted to sit down and start a new anime series that came about because of three famous character designers playing a board game? Uda Butcher, famous for a lot of his works, especially Fate Zero. Number 2, Naruto from Durarara. And Natsu, the famous creator of the Fate series, or Type Moon verse. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, those three famous character designers and writers came about, played a board game, and this series was brought into fruition. That is how Chaos Dragon was brought up. For instance, how this even became a series. So to do some brief backstory, actually, let me read this article real quick. Like, the description to Chaos Dragon, if none of you are up to speed and you're unaware of the history behind this series. So I want to do a quote for quote. Here's the description. Chaos Dragon is based on the role-playing fiction project Red Dragon, a story which was created by 5 notable character designers. Uda Butcher, famous for Fate Zero. Natsu, famous for Karno Kyokai and, the Fate visual novels and Type Moon visual novels. And then you have it Kyogyoku from Mimizuku. And then you also have it to Naruto, famous for Durarara. And then you also have these other ones, that's Shima Doriru, that is famous for the stripe pattern Dojin Circle. So these are really famous character designers from the manga and anime industry, and they came together, they played this board game, or this game called Red Dragon, and this person decided to just, write a total of 7 light novel volumes based on this game these 5 character designers decided to play. Like when they sat down and played a game. Let's say, you sit down and play a game of Dungeons and Dragons, okay? Someone's sitting there on the outside, and they're like, you know what, I want to fucking write this down. I want to look at, the paths they choose, at the land, and different things like that, and I want to make a story out of this shit. And that is what happened. That's pretty much to put it in simple terms. So, that is a brief backstory to Chaos Dragon, if you're unaware. So, no, I'm not saying that Uda Butcher, Naruto from Dodderall, I'm not saying they wrote this series. They played a game, and then they put their own characters, or, their own selves inside of the series. Like, for instance, you have it to where Naruto put, his own self in a Durarara design or whatever into, Chaos Dragon. You also have it to where, Natsu, he put his own self into the series, and Uda Butcher also put himself into the series. So each of them have, their own character in the verse, from what I can understand, in Chaos Dragon. And from what I've been told already previously, the blonde-haired dude in this episode that seemed like a knight or something from another nation, that dude is supposedly Natsu's character that he designed for himself. So just to briefly let you know about that, and supposedly Uda Butcher has a trap character, a reverse gender bent character or something like that. So I don't know what Naruto is either. I don't know what character he chose. But anyways, getting on to these first impressions of Chaos Dragon. So, if you've yet to start it, you're probably here because you want to hear what it's about, first impressions. But judging by what I just said, most likely if you care about any of those character designers, you most likely have already gone to go watch it. And so you're probably here just to hear my first impressions and my thoughts about the episode. So, Chaos Dragon is a series that is set in medieval time, and you have it to where 3 different kingdoms are kind of having a dispute between each other. And I'm guessing these 3 kingdoms would have to be, the different, character designers and stuff like that with their own individual characters. And with this, you come to find out that there is these type of dragons in the series, and you can make a pact with these dragons to be able to, I guess, gain power. And one of our main characters actually makes a pact with the Red Dragon at the end of the episode, and he has to sacrifice the one that was close to him, his childhood friend, I assume, and he stabs or kills him, and he gains the power of the Red Dragon. And for the most part, when it comes to the groundwork of the series, I want to be brutally honest, okay? Being brutally honest with all of you. When it comes to the groundwork and the structure of the series, it's very generic or cliche. But does that make it bad? No, no, no. Just because it's generic or just because it's cliche doesn't mean it is a bad series. As I've said countless times before, it comes down to the execution. The execution of a series really plays a huge role nowadays in anime and manga, because majority of plot lines and stories we see come out every time a new season begins, usually it's something we have seen before. There's a lot of anime that use the exact same generic plot lines and different things that's the setup from the very beginning. Even a lot of shonen do this, but they venture out and do their own specific thing in different execution of the series. So it really comes down to how Chaos Dragon takes the series from this point forward. For instance, right now it has a very generic start, but it doesn't make it bad. It just depends on how the writer, or how this is and how it goes from here on in multiple episodes from now. It can go bad, it can go good. It's at that point where we really don't know. We can't really judge Chaos Dragon until we see more content. We gotta wait a couple more episodes until we can really see if this is going to be something worthwhile to watch. Because, I mean, you can get I guess an impression if you want to continue watching. If you straight off hate it, you shouldn't watch it, of course. But I mean, for now, we can't really judge it on being cliche or generic because it's something we haven't seen be executed yet. For instance, she was just setting up the premise. We don't even know how it's going to be later on down the road. So we need to wait until we get more information about what is going on with the 3 different countries, to the different characters, to the real goal, in-game goal, and stuff like that. But from what we can kind of glimpse from this, first episode, you can assume the in-game goal is our main character. I'm assuming we're probably going to have 3 main characters, or 4 or 5 main characters from each individual character designer. I'm assuming, the white-haired boy that actually, made a contract with the Red Dragon in this episode, I'm assuming his in-game goal is to become king and change the world, because that's kind of what he wanted in this episode. So that's kind of like his in-game goal. He wants to change the world, and he wants to become king. Now, I don't know how everybody else is going to be, because assuming the way it was done at the end of this episode, there is other dragons in the series, because I saw a black dragon mentioned in this episode's subtitles, and I don't know if the subtitles are off or not, because this is, fan translations, and fan translations can be fucking off. So I don't know if the fan translations were even doing this episode justice. Let's be honest here. Since this is fan translations, we don't know if everything was translated properly, and if we got the full picture of everything about this series. So we still need to wait until we get official translations. But my first impressions of it reminds me a lot of Fate Khalid. Like, the artwork reminds me a lot of Fate Khalid. And I know why it reminds me of it, because I actually knew about the series, because I did some extensive research into Chaos Dragon, specifically for this anime season, because I heard a lot of talk that it was from, character designers, so I wanted to look into this series. Come to find out, it's by Silverlink Studios, and if you don't know who Silverlink is, some of you might not know them. They are famous for Fate Khalid. They have made Fate Khalid, and Fate Khalid looks so fucking beautiful. It really does. And they've worked with Ufotable. They've worked with Ufotable with Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works. They have worked with Studio Ufotable on anime. Silverlink has. So, you should expect some really good budget when it comes to art or animation, and Silverlink has kind of adapted the look of Ufotable over the recent years. For instance, the look of the art looks very similar to Nasu's art style when it comes to, the Type Moon series. You can definitely see it in the way the characters were designed in this first episode. Now, when it comes to the animation, was the animation good, so to say? That's iffy. The CGI dragon kind of looked a little bit nasty. I gotta admit that. I can't deny that. The CGI dragon was like, ugh. But everything else looked pretty damn decent. I mean, there was some derps here and there, but it looked good. And, I mean, so I really had nothing much to complain about. I just wanted to tell you that the artwork reminds me a lot of Fate Khalid, and it reminds me a lot of Ufotable's, art style and work. But besides that, also when it comes to the ending sequence of the episode, there's something very interesting I noticed, and I don't know if this is going to play a role later on, but most likely it is, judging by the way it's done. When you see the girl at the end that gets sacrificed as tribute for the Red Dragon and dies, you see right after the song, you see like right towards the end, it's like right at the end of the episode, you see how the girl gets like X'd out. Like you see her character portrait just go red, and when you see these other characters that we met in that first episode that are right behind her. And the way it makes me think, are these other characters that were shown in that ending part of the episode, are they going to die as well? Like, are all those characters that were kind of blanked out, or characters that we saw, are they going to die too in this series? Because that's what it looks like. It really looks like that the way that was done. So I'm really curious about the potential of the way that's going to go. And I do like the way the series, whoever wrote the series, I know the character designers didn't write this series, but whoever wrote this series, I like it how they have the balls to kill off a character, even though she was tribute and kind of fodder when it comes to the grand scheme of what everything is going to be about, I'm willing to bet. It's still, I really like how a series is willing to go down that path of killing off a character, even though it is the first episode, so pardon me. But anyways, that's my first impressions of Chaos Dragon. It was a good start. I mean, it's an average start, actually, to be honest. It's an average start, but it does have high potential, depending on how it is done. I saw a couple on Twitter, a couple Chibits mentioned me on Twitter, that it felt very average, or generic, cliche. And that's kind of why I brought up that discussion in this episode review / first impressions. I don't think we have enough information to really judge it. Unless you've read the light novel, like if you specifically have read the light novels and you know about the series, then I guess you have a better impression than I could possibly have. But if you're an anime only like myself, we really can't really judge the series until we see a couple more episodes into it if it's done right. So tell me your thoughts. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or not wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.